Hi guys, it is in fact your girl Caitlin and welcome back to the channel. So I'm going to split this video into two parts. The first part is we're going to be going through the games with me pausing and giving a bit of commentary, explanation, talking about what I'm doing, what we're doing as a team and why. And then the second part, it will be timestamped, so if you want to skip all the commentary you can. It will just be all of the games running through with no pauses, not me fucking talking, and just some good old fashioned tunes. I hope you guys enjoy, and if you want to watch live you can on my Twitch. All of the information will be down in the description. I hope you guys enjoy it, and I will catch you all in the next one. So the first thing I'll pause here is just to point out the positioning of the druid and also myself. What you'll find is both of us effectively play the same kind of positioning, that being we're going to run in a large circle around the tomb itself. I do generally initially move to place my totems in the center. Obviously, totems in ruins on the one hand, they're quite easy to place because everybody is going to be moving around that central point, so everybody's going to get your totems, but equally that means they're very easy to totem stomp with pets or just anybody trying to totem stomp. So I will be replacing them where I am positioned, and that will be further away from the tomb. What you'll see as well is Q, the druid, will basically be doing almost a mirror movement as me, initially at least. He's just going to stay away from the center. If he goes into the center, then he's going to be eating the instant fears from Howl of Terror, Psychic Scream. He really does not want to do that as a druid. They haven't got a defensive dispel beyond Devour, and that's not exactly reliable, so he's just going to be running around. And as you can see, we're also going to be starting on the rogue. So it's just, for me, early Bloodlust, that reduces my GCD on purges, so I can get all of the buffs off of the rogue as quickly as possible, and then it's just going to be a case of let's try and not get feared and deal with the inevitable totem stomping. As you can see as well, they're sitting initially quite comfortably onto our warlock. They swap over to our shadow priest here. I'm just now replacing my totems as much as possible, and a very early mana tide, but as I pause, we can see a fell puppy running straight towards that mana tide. Thank you, Blizzard, for making mana tide have 5 HP. I really enjoy it. But the important thing as well, that a mistake I commonly make, and I think a lot of shamans commonly make, is versus rogues, replace mana tide, and they would be like, oh, there's a poison I need to cleanse, and we place poison cleansing term, nullifying our mana tide. In this case, it doesn't really matter because mana tide's about to die after 2 ticks, but it's the best I could do. The other thing I will note, obviously, is I'm casting with Curse of Tongues, which is the other reason that I Bloodlust early. Bloodlust effectively counters Curse of Tongues a little bit. It's not perfect, but it's the best that we can effectively get. And if you're healing with Curse of Tongues from the get-go, and if you save your Bloodlust, what you'll tend to find is that you will just fall way behind with your healing, and the pressure from, you know, especially if your teammates have Curse of Tongues, you're just going to fall behind. Then when you're playing from behind a Shadowplay, that's not a position you want to be in, and it's really fucking bad times. The other thing obviously to watch out for is the spell lock. At the moment it's cooldown. I forget who they used it on at that point, and I'm not going to go backwards because I've already paused too much. So we're just going to get straight onto Alan Parrish. What we're trying to do is force the Cloak of Shadows. It will be a Cloak of Shadows probably into a Vanish. That gives him the opportunity to completely reset, and that's again really bad for us. Effectively, we're kind of on a bit of a clock here. The Druid's mana is going to outlast the Priest's mana and probably my mana, and obviously the Rogue's never going to go and the Lock's never going to go. So we're just attempting to pressure a little bit of a fake cast RP. First thing we want to notice is on the spell lock, and then we have here Q, 2 humans and 1 undead. 3 undead is the worst for us. 3 anything but undead is the best for us. Human priest is fantastic for us. It's even better than dwarf priest. And importantly, human rogue, mostly just because of the Will of Forsakens. We're going to be cycling fears as much as possible, and if they haven't got Will of Forsaken, then, well, get that fear rolling earlier. We can force a trinket a little bit earlier, as we really want to force trinkets with fears, because when they don't have trinket, as we saw with the first game against Q, if we can get somebody in a death coil, or in a bad position, death coil them when they haven't got trinket up, that's really when we're getting maximum pressure and hopefully a kill on them. The other thing I will notice, I didn't mention this in the first game, it wasn't as important, but versus RMP, it's very, very standard totem matrix. It's going to be Frost Resistance Totem because it's a Frost Mage, Poison Cleansing because it's a Rogue, Tremor because it's a Priest, and then we're going to be cycling between Spell Power Totem and Grounding. Versus a Warlock or a lot of casters, honestly, just placing Grounding on cooldown is about as good as it's going to get. There aren't these really pivotal cards that you do want to ground. Versus a Frost Mage, however, as you'll see in this match, being able to ground a Shatter combo is completely game winning. And obviously counter spells. So we're getting blizzarded, that's fine by us. He's put us in combat, which means none of us can get sacked, which is absolutely fine by us. It's not a problem at all. The other thing I do here is, it's a little bit risky, but I know I've dropped combat, my team hasn't dropped combat. Zeech Optimism has just got himself in combat with a Master Spell, so I am going to buff him with Water Breathing. I buff him. I could use Earth Shield, but that would then swap my Earth Shield from one target to the other, which I don't want to be on. So I'm just going to do a quick Water Breathing. That puts me back in combat. The only slight risk with this is there is like a 0.2 second moment when I could be sacked if the rogue is really looking for it. In this case, it's not, so I do get back into combat and I can just start playing. So we get early purges. The rogue's still not out. He now opens onto Optimism, Earth Shield, and then, as you can see, we've got a pet, and the first Shatter combo is just going to be grounded. So we want to time it as much as possible, because obviously if you place your grounding prematurely, then there's a lot of shit going on. Grounding can get taken up by the pet casting, is it Frostbolt, I think it is, you know, a priest doing offensive dispel, priest doing divine plague, priest doing anything offensive, it will get used up. So you do want to time it, and yeah, if you can ground the Shatter combo, that's, you know, 50% of the damage that they're going to get on the kill. So it's really, really important if you can get it and hold it. Beyond that, after that, they sort of are lacking a little bit of pressure. I'm just conscious of not getting polymorphed and not getting feared at this point. We're damaging onto the rogue. We want to force the Cloak of Shadows from him. I'm just going to purge him. I really want to get the shadow protection off of him. Obviously, it's the last thing I get, and unfortunately this mage doesn't know what decurse is, so he's trying to cast polymorph with the Curse of Tongues on himself, which is very feels bad. Similar to the first game as well, the rogue's just going to cloak vanish, try and reset. What, does he vanish? No, he just cloaks. Okay, bad rogue. But yeah, there's the vanish, and he vanishes when he hasn't got cloak up, so he actually gets feared. If he had got cloak up, he would have got war stomped, but that's when war stomp is just fucking insanely good. Counter spell's been used, so I can just free cast. The rogue is in fear. Again, I can just free cast. I really don't have to worry at this point, and you know, we're feeling good. Trinket from the rogue as well, which means he, as you can see, the second he trinkets, straight into the death coil, and then an actual kill off of that. It's, you know, it's basically what we do. Mana Tide down, and then the last chance is a long cast Shatter combo. Again, ground it. That's the game over and done with. Going into WLD, for anyone that's not familiar, WLD versus Shadowplay, it's like 90-10 in our favour, but I thought I'd include a clip just for demonstration purposes. I won't go into too much. The only thing to note here is obviously both of my DPS are completely ignoring the Warlock. The way WLD can win is obviously by dragging the game out. They are quite a sustained based comp, they can last a very long time. Druid's got a shitload of mana, Warlock's never going to go and a Warrior's got Rage compared to us. So if we, you know, the Warlock rushes in to try and look big and scary and force us to, you know, dismount and for some fucking reason engage with him, it's an SL Warlock. We are never killing an SL Warlock as a shadow play, so literally just ignore him. He's going to do his best, as you can see, Recursive Exhaustion. I put down an Earthbind just to slow him so he can't, you know, catch up to us too quickly and fuck with us. But Totem Matrix is again just going to be, it's not down at the moment, but it will be Tremor Totem. I've got Healing Spring in this case, just because Healing Spring can just about deal or help to counter Warlock dots in a very, very sad, pathetic, slow healing way. And then again, it's just going to be Spell Power and Grounding Totem as much as possible. But yeah, we ride past and we're just going to run straight towards the warrior. I can see where the warrior is, so just Frost Shock is actually max rank, and then purging to get him clean. Really nice. So this is the closest it gets to being sketchy. Is I jump for the Frost Shock. My team doesn't jump. We don't want to jump. If we jump down and we keep the Warlock and probably the Druid upstairs, and then what will happen is if we're both, or if we're all downstairs, we've got the Warlock upstairs, we've got the Druid upstairs, and we've got the Warrior downstairs. Mr. Warrior is just going to go intervene up to one of his team, and then they're all upstairs. We won't be able to target the actual target we want to kill, and we're just going to get covered in dots, and it's going to go longer. We won't get the kill, we might go boom, and that's how we would end up losing. I jump for the Frost Shock, probably not, but I do end up in a very bad position here where I'm just going to get cycloned. There's nothing my team can do about that. They're up the opposite side, the Druid just drops out. I could trinket this, but then I'd be risking, well, if I trinket this at this point, then what's going to happen is Druid's just going to go bare form, he's going to fail charge me, he's going to bash me, 4-second bash, I can't drink it into Cyclone. So I have got to sit this, and this puts us a little bit behind. The other thing as well is all of my totems are in fucking Africa at this point, so I have got to spend, 3 seconds replacing all of my totems, or placing Tremor at least to get that down. And then we've got some initial pressure up onto our Warlock. I'm just trying my best possible. I'm just trying my best not to get interrupted, not to get feared, not to get cycloned, and keep everybody up. We end up actually killing the Druid just because. When did we kill the Druid? Let me actually check. It's a little bit janky. So he comes in for a War Stomp, and then just gets Death Coil. NS from him, but that's not enough. Again, it's sort of similar to what happened. So similar to what happened with Q, we end up killing the Druid. He just stays in the maul a little bit too much. It's harder to get the range compared to something like Ruins, where Q can obviously skirt around, because Blade's Edge Arena is undoubtedly the most complicated map that we have in the map pool in TBC. You've got the vertical aspect, which you don't have in the other two arenas. It's harder. If I was the Druid, I probably would have tried to stay below and heal from downstairs, and then maximum do maybe a fail charge into a bash or something like that. So this matchup is versus Cleave, or some people call it Turbo, and this is just a complete crapshoot. This is just pure unadulterated RNG. If they get good seal twists, good procs, then somebody dies in a millisecond. They've got a Shaman healer and they haven't got a decurse, which means that well, he's trying to hardcast with Curse of Tongues on versus my shocks, spell lock, silence. He's basically got an NS heal, and that's about it. But as I said, they can and have, versus in other games, completely just fucking mauled people. Most notably Optimism. I think it's actually a massive mistake from them to go onto Optimism. He has Shadow Form, which means he takes 15% less damage, versus Budge, who has no armor. Optimism has Inner Fire, so he's got considerably more armor. He's also got Shadow Form, 15% less damage, as I mentioned. Budge, Warlock, has none of that shit. He gets a bit of extra healing from Fell Armor, but he's going to have more strike on him. He's got no armor, he's got no Soul Link. He is much more paper than Optimism is. But as you can see, double War Stomp just to try and force a trinket, which means that anything I can do, we get a bubble from the Paladin. At this time we are just zogging down the Warrior. I have to trinket. I have got Tremor down, but as you know from my follow, Tremor's fucked. And again, it's just a case of doing our best to zog down the Warrior before they zog us. They play Cleave, it's what they do. We play Shadowplay, it's what we do. That's it. especially in this match when they've attacked us across the bridge. Budge is then positioned, Optimism falls back, I fall back, and then Budge is positioned very nicely in the middle to control the Shaman, so he just can't get a heal off and can't support his warrior, unfortunately. And as you can see, even with that, the damage on Optimism is fucking wild. Again, same team but a different map. A little bit, I think this map favors them a tiny little bit more. But again, as you can see, it's ruins, so I do my normal. I'm going to run around in a little bit of a circle. This time they go on to Budge, and as you can see, this is what they do. So watch his HP. That's Bloodlust. Bearing in mind he's got shield. He's got his shield from Voidwalker. He's got Earth Shield, and he's at 100% right about now. And he's at wait, now he's at 35%. This is my NS, but he's got more strike on him, so my NS heals for about fuck and a little bit of all. And he then health rocks as well, and I believe he death coils. But again, he's just getting absolutely hammered, and we are just spamming everything we can into the warrior, desperately trying to kill him. The Shaman's getting a few heals off. I sort of move in to try and deal with him, but yeah, Budge is dead, and then it goes into a 2v2. At this point, the big issue is that both me and Zinch are pretty fucking However, if we allow these guys to actually stabilize in a 2v2 and it becomes Ret versus Resto, we are completely boned. So we are forced to just go absolutely ham and pressure. Try to prevent any kind of stabilization, don't let any heals go off. I'm even max ranking my shocks as we just try and desperately get some pressure. I get a nice little, I'm meleeing for the Frostbite procs, I get a nice one there, which is really significant. But, you know, there's only so many interrupts I can do, and it's not looking very good. So at this point, we swap on to the Ret, who's going ham. Obviously, I think if you look carefully from Cathwob there, we get a resist onto the Hodge. It's TBC, RNG is obviously skill. But you can, I think you can see a frustrated little span. So there's the resist, and then angry little shake of his body from Cathwob. And then again, they don't get the RNG, we get the RNG, insta dispel onto the powered shield, and then I kill him with a melee. Undeniably very RNG favoured for us in the 2v2, but again, it's Cleave versus Shadowplay. It's 80% luck, providing nobody's doing something truly stupid. So this is actually double healer warrior. It's a very weak double healer warrior. They haven't got any way of dealing with Curse of Tongues, basically, so sort of similar to the Cleave healing setup. They've got healing with Bubble, and then they've got NS. Beyond that, they're not going to get many heals off. I can see as I run across the bridge, I can see that totems are placed below, so I'm just going to jump down quickly, totem stomp the Tremor. I don't know, I can't remember if he replaces it, but that gives us the opportunity to start spamming Fears, Bloodlust, and then we're just going to murk the warrior. Again, the healing is so incredibly hard for these two guys when they've got tongues on. There's so little they can do between shocks, etc, etc, but you know, it is what it is. So there's the NS. My Tremor hasn't been stomped. They haven't got a pet to stomp it. They haven't got a pet to stomp it or anything like that. And they're just going to push in. They do a considerable amount of damage, and this is the risk of going on a warrior versus a double healer. If you can't kill the warrior, then that warrior now has all the rage under the sun, and he is going to absolutely fucking batter you. As we're about to see with Budge, he's got, you know, basically zero arm at this point with what will be 5 Sunders, and the warrior has, yeah, a shitload of fucking rage. So we are just gonna do our best to heal early Mana Tide. The Mana Tide isn't so much for me as it is for my teammates at this point, but again, it doesn't actually get stomped. And at this point, they're just trying to reset, but he's got absolutely fucking everything on him. We get a spell lock onto the Shaman's heal. I think we had a silence onto the Paladin as well, if I remember correctly. So Paladin is trying to heal with tongues. Eye shock. The Paladin's flash of light. We then get a spell lock on the healing wave from the Shaman. At that point, there's nothing they can do. You know, they have to fake cast, and they didn't manage it. So GG. On to the next. So this is a Shadow RP. I tried to have as many sort of diverse clips. This is much more of a meme kind of comp. It's Shadow Priest, Pyro Mage, Rogue. It can work in Season 1, you know. We're at about 2.1k rating at the moment. I don't quite know what rating these guys work, but you know, they're going to be at the upper echelon, so obviously you can get, you know, high with the comp. It will obviously diminish with the duration of the season as people just get more and more resilience, but yep. Again, the important thing for us is that we've got a human rogue. That's always good. Rogues like to be human for 2s versus us, you don't want to be human. The only real change here is that because it's a Pyro Mage, rather than having poison cleansing down, I have fire resistance totem and frost resistance totem down. If we can get even a partial resist on some of the fire spells, whether it's the Pyro or it's a fire blast, these things really fucking hurt. Even a partial resist is massive, but we get the rogue out and just dot him up. The best thing we can get from him at this point is if he cloaks the initial dot that we put on to stop him stealthing, then that's fantastic. In this case, he trinkets and then cloaks to jump onto me. At this point, I believe I have ES'd myself. Yeah, when I see it's, I put a shield onto myself because I kind of assume they're going to jump onto me. I've got my more defensive weapon setup, giving myself resilience. They palm really early, palm really early, hoping for a crit. The downside to them at that point obviously is I still have all my totems up, rather than them clearing the totems and then doing a more calculated burst. Blanket counterspell, again I'm Tauren, so blanket counterspell, and then everybody runs near me, including the mage, so I can get a nice little war stomp off. At this point the Shadow Priest is doing what they kind of should have done before. They Pyro'd me and clearing my totems out. But fake cast, the reason I fake casted was because I didn't remember that the rogue had trinketed, or I probably just didn't notice that he trinketed. So what would have been, if he'd had his trinket up, if I war stomped, assumed he wasn't going to be able to interrupt and just hard cast, he can trinket kick me, which would have been good play from him. So I just fake cast just in case. But now we've got a nice fear, and as we said, he's human, so, and he's already popped his trinket. He's not got Cloak of Shadows, he's not got trinket, he was feared, so standard play for us, Death Coil into an attempted kill. Or in this case I think it's just a straight up kill. The Shadow Priest has moved out of Shadow form, he's desperately trying to heal. I could be shocking. My focus is on the mage at this point to try and stop polymorphs, but I think I tried to mouse over a shock there at the very end, but I don't. And yeah, as I said, standard, no trinket, Death Coil, kill. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you do, subscribe if you want to watch live with actual in-game comps, etc. Then you can find me on twitch.tv/Caitlin_UK. Thank you for watching, guys. I do appreciate it, and I will catch you all in the next one.
Legend. I have nothing to lose. Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. Wake up. I know what's real. Escape reality. Hardwired. Brace yourself.